Well, you're here because you joined our Patreon, which is really cool, and thank you for that. I appreciate you supporting Talk Me Into, because it's a project that's never been supported that I've made before. Well, it's a project that I made that's I've never been supported with a project before, so I'm happy that I could do these kinds of things that people want. So this is Jimmy's editing corner, but this isn't editing. This is just about the production part of it. This is about the actual recording of Talk Me Into and the equipment that I'm using. So that's what we're gonna be doing today. I hope that you are interested, because I'm interested in talking about it. The main part about editing a podcast is that you want to get it right the first time, especially when you're recording audio. Audio is a big one because if you mess it up, it's hard to fix, because that's like one of the first things that people notice is bad audio. Take this clip for Birdemic.
Hi.
Here is the menu.
Thank you.
I'll be right back with you.
Yeah, see, there are two different audio sounds when there are two different angles, and it's just completely out of there, and it's not great, and it's very noticeable. So I'm very particular about how the podcast sounds, so I want to record it and make sure it sounds okay. Yes, some things slip on by, but obviously that's number one that I've heard about the podcast, is people really appreciate the quality that goes into the recording of the show. So I'm gonna be here talking about how I do that. So over the years, I've accumulated a bunch of different recording equipment, and basically that makes up the amalgamation of the Talk Me Into equipment. The first piece is really important, and that is a laptop. I have a mid-2012 MacBook Pro. I've had it since I started college, and it's gotten me through a lot of stuff. Yes, it is 2020, and this is a 2012 model, but I have since upgraded it. I put a SSD in there, which makes it run a little bit faster, and I put some more RAM in there so that we're recording, it doesn't crash. So since I've upgraded it, it's been fine. I'm super happy with it, and I don't see me having to upgrade anytime soon. So this basically is our recorder. This is what actually gets the audio and stores it, and I could technically edit with this, but I do edit with my machine upstairs in my bedroom. So if it wasn't for this, we wouldn't be able to record Talk Me Into. So I will go through some of the actual recording equipment. So this is my microphone. This is an Audio-Technica 2035, and it's a decent microphone. I got it for 150 bucks, I believe, maybe even cheaper. This is just a windscreen that I threw on top of it, so you don't hear me doing all those P's and plosives. Yeah, it's been great. It's a very good microphone. I highly recommend it. Dan and Jeff both use a Audio-Technica AT2020, which I also have. Jeff just uses my spare one because he's cheap and does not want to spend money on it. It's 100 bucks. Honestly, it's a great microphone for the price. It's very good. It's very similar to my microphone. Mine just has a little bit more audio fidelity on it. So the real question is, how do I get from this to here? And there's a couple things that we need. We need a audio interface and a XLR cable. So we see down here that is a male XLR input, so we need a female XLR output into there. Or no, this is a male output, we need a female input, so we can put it into the thing. So this is an XLR cable. You've probably seen them at a bunch of shows, like comedy shows or concerts. Primary audio cable. They're super cheap. You can get like a 20-footer for like 10 bucks, 5 bucks, probably something like that. I don't know. I bought them all on Amazon years ago. And then this is the piece de resistance. Is that how you pronounce it? I don't know. This is my audio interface. 4 channels, so we can have up to 4 microphones on this. It has 4 preamps. Preamps basically amplify the signals so that they sound fine. That's why they're called a mic preamp, because mics have a weak signal, so they need to be amplified. This is the Behringer Euphoria UMC 404 HD. I don't remember how much I spent on this. 100 bucks maybe, 150 at the most. Honestly, it's cheap. It's not great, but it gets the job done, so I can't complain about it. It's gotten me through the past few years I've had it. I highly recommend the, what are they called? I highly recommend the Scarletts. I have a Scarlett Solo up in my bedroom, and it's small, and it's amazing. I actually haven't used it yet, but my buddy has the 2-channel one, and it's pretty good. I do not recommend USB microphones because you cannot do multiple USB microphones into one laptop or one audio source. For some reason, that's just how the USB works. It only takes one USB at a time. So that's why I always recommend getting an XLR microphone and just getting one of these. So what do we just hold the microphone? No, we don't. We have a microphone stand. There's a couple different options we have. This is the first one. This is just a regular tabletop stand. These again are super cheap. I think like 10 bucks, maybe 15 at the most expensive. But that doesn't work, so we have these. These are shock mounts. They literally are just mounts that you put the microphone into, and then you screw onto the thing, and that's it. That's basically how it works. Then it just stays on there. I have a couple of them. This one I borrowed from my alma mater. When you think of podcasters, you think of these scissor arms, and I really like these arms. They're really nice. You can basically mount them to a like any sort of table and have the microphone right here, and then you can move it however you want. You can get comfortable. So I really recommend these. This is kind of a cheap one that I got, but it does have a attached XLR, so that's pretty helpful and it's useful. Unless it doesn't work, then it's not very useful, and then it's just there forever. All right, we're gonna get this all together. If I can show you how this is set up. Let's say that's secure. Let's just pretend for a minute. So like we said, that had a male output, so we need a female side. This is the female side. Plug that in there. We plug the male into the audio interface. Let's just put it in channel 1, like that. All right, so how it gets from this audio interface into my computer is literally just USB. So it takes the USB signal into the computer. Here's the USB. Plug that motherfucker right in there. It's Patreon, I can swear. And then we have USB in there. We'll get on in there. Now we're all good. And this runs off phantom power, which means that it's taking the power from this and is powering this, so I don't have to plug it into the wall outlet. I can do that if I wanted to, but I don't need to, which is dope. And this microphone is also running off phantom power, so I also don't need any batteries or anything from the microphone. All right, so when we're recording the podcast, obviously we want to make sure that we're all sounding good. So a thing that we should do is be monitoring the feed, which means that we need headphones. These are my headphones. These are also Audio-Technica. I really like that company. I think they make some really good stuff. These are Audio-Technica AT2050s, 50X. I don't remember exactly. I'll put the picture in the video. But yeah, these are not cheap. They're 150 bucks, but honestly, they're cheaper than like Beats, and Beats are really shitty quality. So I highly recommend these headphones. These are very good. But here's the thing, how do we all monitor when there's only, I'm just gonna unplug this, only one input? So this is where another little piece of equipment comes into play. This is a headphone splitter. This is a Behringer, which is great because that actually goes along with my audio interface. And it's literally just a headphone splitter. We plug it into the audio output in here, and we all plug in here. We need a 1/4 inch, which is important. I don't know if people are watching this. Hopefully you know what the difference is between an 1/8 inch and a 1/4 inch. This is an 1/8 inch. This is a 1/4 inch adapter. We plug it in there, and the 1/4 inch will go into here. 1/4 inch, and we all plug in, and we can all monitor. We all have little knobs we can adjust. Jeff is usually the one in charge of them, and he's not that great at it. I think did I say that this was a gift from Dan, actually, right before we started the podcast? So we need to output from a 1/4 inch to 1/4 inch. This is literally just a 1/4 inch to 1/4 inch. So 1/4 inch goes into the input slot, and then the 1/4 inch goes into the mic output, which is on the interface. This unfortunately is not powered by phantom power, so we do need a wall adapter, which is kind of annoying, but it is what it is. And that's pretty much about equipment. And so yeah, I'm just gonna bring you guys over my shoulder and I'll show you how I set up Adobe Audition and how we record and show you a little bit about the knobs on here. Alright, so for some reason I can't get OBS to work on here, which was a screen recording part, but I'm just gonna use my camera. Hopefully you can see things okay. So when we're recording, we want a multi-track session, so because we have multiple tracks, which is nice with a audio interface rather than a mixer, because a mixer is going to put it all down to one track, which makes it harder to edit. But with a audio interface, we literally have multiple tracks that we can edit. So each of our microphones has its own track. So we're going to go to File and then New, Multi-Track Session, and I'll just say Talk Me Into tutorial. Okay, hit OK, and now we have multiple tracks. We have 6 by default. We can even add more if we wanted to, but like I said, we only have 4 inputs on our audio interface, so most microphones that we can have is 4. We once had 5 people on the podcast at once, so we just had Dan and Jeff on the same mic. So obviously we want to add our microphone into here, and we need to make sure that it recognizes that we have that microphone into it. So say we didn't, and we would go to where are we going? Say we didn't, and we would go to Preferences. So Preferences and Audio Hardware. We need our default input to be at our audio interface. So this is the UMC 404 HD. So we have that selected, and then output, built-in output, that's fine. That just means the audio output, what we're going to be hearing it from. Doesn't really matter in this case because we're going to be listening to it through our headphone jack. Okay, so we just need multiple tracks. So we need to select, we're going to get a mono track, and it's going to be input 1. And then for the second track, that will be input 2. That's usually Dan. Then input 3, we're going to do a mono track again, and then input 3. Then that's how we're recording. So our first input should be in here, and as we're recording, it's not working. What? I forgot a big major step. We have to arm it to record. So now we're going. You can even see my audio. It's going up and down. And say I had the microphone right up here. This is about where we want the audio to be. Hitting that yellow, I'm gonna hit record, and so yeah, that's about where we want the audio to be. We don't want to be peaking, we don't want to be in the red, we don't want to be really loud, because you can see the audio spike over here, and that's not that great. That's not what we want. So yeah, and this is about the levels that we'll want to be at. It depends on the microphone too, because like I said, my microphone's a little bit better than the AT2020s. And so I'll take a look at the knobs. I'll show you that right now where it should be. So obviously each knob is a different input. So this is our first input. Over here we have line and not line. Line means it's fully out. When we press it in, it's not out. Don't worry about that. I've never had any problems with that before. Don't worry about it. I'm probably just gonna cut that out. Right here is pad, and if we have somebody really loud, we'll add that pad to it. And that'll make the frequency a little bit quieter, basically. So we don't need that out. Every time that Dan or Jeff is like, hey, I can't hear me, it's usually because that pad is accidentally hit. And the knob is about halfway up, and that's about where we want it for all of these. Dan usually a little bit quieter, so he's a little bit louder. Jeff, it depends on the day for him. So yeah, that's about where we want it to be. So that's about it. That's the recording of Talk Me Into. That's what we do. And hopefully I can see you next time. And I'll do a little bit of an editing tutorial, which is going to be even more fun. That's where the audio starts to sound really good and get you that real podcast sound. So thanks for watching. And thank you for supporting us on Patreon. And have a good day, everybody. Wow.